What I'd like to do now is ask Andrea King to come back into the conversation, because we are moving to that place where we're going to say, towards the end of our conference, we've got 25 minutes to run. We're bang on time, by the way. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the resources that we have created one way and the other, which will equip you to carry this conversation forward and will equip you to carry practical projects forward. And so I'm going to begin by handing over to Andrea, who, besides all the other roles she holds, is the coordinator of a resource which is called Creating Sanctuary. So you've been at Creating Sanctuary, the event, and there will be other events coming down the line, as I've said. But Andrea and a team that many of us have been involved in one way or the other have put together a resource, Creating Sanctuary. Andrea, tell us about it.
Thank you, Steve. I think it's really important to start to honour the courage that you have shown in stepping forward and managing to create an event like this. And thank you so much, because it takes courage. Colleagues, I just want to say really publicly, some of you will know, if you come from the same denomination as I do, some of you will know that over the last 6 months, I've had nothing but a series of calls that have told me very clearly to leave the denomination I beckon from for my own welfare. These are people I've never met. These are people I don't know. And I just want to be able to say really clearly, publicly today, please stop. For as long as there is breath in my body, I will stand alongside good people of integrity who provide a place where we can come together to reconcile as the body of Christ. We're going to talk about our mechanism for reconciling. And I want to talk about Creating Sanctuary, the resource. You'll have seen I've got some technical problems, so Jim is sharing the slides. Thank you, Jim. If you look at the website just down in the corner of the screen, you'll see the web address for Creating Sanctuary. This is an independent resource. It's been supported by many, many great leaders across this country and also overseas, of all denominations, but it's independent, intentionally so that it can stand in neutral ground. And what it does is it calls us to a place of reconciling together as the body of Christ. I'm going to talk you through how the resource works. It's free. You can use it. Go and look at it now if you can. Go and have a look at the resource. Jim, the next slide, please. So the way that it works is we have taken much time and great care to start to tell the story of where we have been as a people together and where we might go. There are 6 parts to this conversation in Creating Sanctuary, and they're all structured for you. So the joy of it is, as a church leader, as a designated person for safeguarding, as a minister, vicar, priest, you can have these structured conversations, each in turn, with your church communities. They are reflective. They're very Ignatian in lots of ways. They ask lots and lots of reflective questions. The stories so far relate to the LG and B community, and our trans and non-binary siblings are working with us at the moment to design very specific content that starts with the lived experience of our trans and non-binary community, because it's slightly different. And it needs to be considered with honour and respect in its own right. We've launched this earlier than we planned to respond to the level of demand we've got for this tool to be available to churches. So please keep updated with us, and the trans non-binary materials will be coming out very soon. Each conversation begins with, where are you? So you can, in your time, in your place, in your local community, say, this is where we are. We'll then listen to the stories of brave and courageous people. That includes people like Dave, who, I don't know about you, but just listening to Dave is deeply moving for me. Talking about what it's been like. So talking about not just the story, but also the bits in which churches have been really important and positive, and the ways in which things have also gone wrong in church. And then there's time to reflect. Picking up on some of the questions in the Q&A, there are a number of examples where church leaders of all denominations, particularly Baptist and Anglican church leaders, talk about where their church was and where their church went to, so what it became, and different kind of landing positions around the kind of inclusive to affirming spectrum, as we would describe it. But the leaders talk about how they approach that, what they learn, what with hindsight they wish they'd known again. So I think somebody's put in the Q&A, is this just about setting up new and different churches just for the rainbow community? No, it's not. We're seeing many churches moving from quite a conservative position, a position of some exclusivity about who's welcome and who's not, to a position of much more welcome or full affirmation. Professor Lisa Oakley, who's the leader on spiritual abuse guidance, she chairs the National Working Group on Faith and Belief and the link to harm and safeguarding. She has done a specific section with us on healthy leadership cultures, and she also then touches on the definition of spiritual abuse, which picks up some of the questions that we've asked. But the focus is on, what does a healthy, open, honest, reflective leadership culture look like? Now, what you'll notice as you look at that material is that the major denominations are all asking their leaderships to start to look at what healthy church leadership culture looks like. That's for a reason. And what Lisa's done for us here, Professor Oakley has done for us, is put a bite-sized module of discussion into creating sanctuaries. That's a huge resource. And Professor Oakley, Luke Dowding, CEO of One Body, One Faith, myself and other members of the core group who've led this tool, are meeting with Lisa again in a few weeks to talk about her next addition to this. There are some really powerful conversations about the inclusive nature of the Bible and the places in the biblical story where the church community, as has become, was asked to make a serious and big transition, a really big change from where it had been to what it needed to do. So particularly the story around Cornelius, particularly stories around the Emmaus Road. And you'll hear very strong, high-profile national leaders from our community of colour, our rainbow community, and your straight allies, our heterosexual allies, very high-profile individuals talking about their reflections on this story. And we get to kind of sit and listen and then reflect on that. The key bit is this resource then enables you to plan, and so where next? So after you've had these 5 structured conversations, which we strongly recommend you get properly facilitated, independently facilitated, then you can start to say, okay, so where are we and where do we want to go? Moving on to the next slide, Jim. One of the things that we've done is drawn in a huge amount of support for this and a lot of very, very good content. There's a very detailed facilitator guide, and we are offering facilitator support. Now, right now with COVID, we're in a tricky place of how we're training facilitators, and we're just coming up with a plan B. But do get in contact with us via Creating Sanctuary website, and you'll see the detailed facilitator guide. Before you do anything, please read that through thoroughly. We have a bank of people who can facilitate, so do get in contact with us if that's what you would like. The guidance is really clear, not only how to facilitate conversations safely, because we will do no more harm, is a key objective. You heard Jane reference that earlier today. There's very detailed pastoral care guidance. There's very detailed embedded safeguarding guidance that links back to the major denominations' safeguarding policies and practices. We've worked really hard with the national leaders for safeguarding and for mental health, who quality assured Creating Sanctuary, its whole suite of resources, and the Facilitator guide and associated risk mitigation work in detail before this was launched. And so please have confidence in how carefully this has been pulled together. These are significant national leaders, and you will see them referenced there. If you are a leader of a church, there's specific guidance for you, specific support in how to lead. If you are a member of the Rainbow community, there's a whole suite of material there for you too, and a whole set of support structures. But thanks to Public Health England, we've been given access to a range of commissioned national and regional support services. So whether that's someone to talk to, whether that's for advice and support, whether that's counselling or therapeutic care, that's listed in the resource. So when I say this has brought the best heads and hearts together, I mean it. It's an extremely well developed resource. Next slide, please, Jim. I want to be clear about a few things. If you're looking for a resource that's going to tell you exactly what to think and how to think it, it's going to walk you through how to feel and how to manage those feelings. It's going to go back over well-rehearsed and sometimes, well, often divisive biblical passages and specifically give you ABC instructions on what to do. This is not it. It's not it, because that won't take account of your context, nor will it manage the risks and the opportunities that you have in your local place. What this does do is ask you to listen, really listen, and to think, really think with all the beauty of the faith that you bring to this. It will focus on the biblical imperative around safety. Safer places, a place where all are able to join, where all are cared for, where the most vulnerable are doubly honoured. It's going to do something very specific, which is re-engage for many people the capacity to empathise. So for the staunchly evangelical leaders who have for many, many years held a non-affirming position, who have taken the time to go through this with us, to talk with people like me and others, I want to honour you. The overriding refrain that we've heard time and time again from those conversations is, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. When we hold a staunchly and sometimes narrow set of views held on individual verses, when the kind of shackles fall and we see for the first time the impact, you will be overwhelmed with a set of feelings that you haven't felt before. And we will walk beside you as you feel that. And we honour you for your courage. This conversation provides space for all. And that means that we will come at it with very, very, very different theologies, very different approaches to pastoral care. And we will conclude in a place where all are honoured. Next slide, please, Jim. I just want to leave in the last minute you with one thing, which is a passage of hope. If you beckon from the same denomination as me, we've been praying over these words in Isaiah for a good 7 to 8 years now, maybe a bit longer. See, I am doing a new thing. It springs up. Don't you perceive it? For years, we've been praying and praying and praying and saying, what is the new thing? You will reach your own views on this, but I'm clear where I've landed on this. The new thing is we need to create space in our churches where all are welcome, where we break down the barriers of secrecy, shame and harm that we are known for, and we open the doors wide, and people will come back. They will come back to a place where they can be in divine relationship and love like they've never been loved. That is the hope, and it is happening. But the reality is we've never sung a song like that. We don't know the tune, we don't know the words. There is so much for us to learn. but together we can and we are doing it. For members of the Rainbow community that have joined us today, and I know how much courage that will have taken and how costly that will have been. Please know that you are loved. You are loved beyond words. You are not alone. There are many of us here. Reach out and we reach back. And do not give up. Hold on to the hope. For everyone gathered here, I'd like to signpost the Gathering Voices conference later this afternoon, where our trans and non-binary siblings are speaking. You'll see Jude there for speaking again in another capacity. Please do give that your support if you can. For everything we've talked about today, please pray on it. For the stories that you've held, for the vulnerabilities that people have offered to you, hold them with care, I pray, please. Honour them. As you journey, as you pray, as you reflect, reach out to us when you want to talk. Reach out to us when you just want to sit alongside and process what's going on in your head and in your heart. And look up to the new thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. Well,